Thank you very much, Suresh. Yeah, we're the before lunch session, Priyanka, but I'm so excited to have you here with us today, the Delhi leg of the ET Soonicorn Summit. And it's wonderful for us to have, a representation from your company. The journey for, from content to commerce for the Glamm group actually began in 2020, with the acquisition of your platform, PopXO. And then, of course, later on, it was followed by Miss Malani, Scoop Whoop, and, others. At that time, Glamm's founder, Darshan Sanghvi, actually mentioned potential savings in marketing costs because, of the synergies that you brought in at that point in time. Today, you've grown as a company to become South Asia's largest D2C content to commerce companies, startups. And you've got these 4 pillars, right? So you've got your brands, you've got the influencers, you've got the digital platforms, and you also have the engaged community. What happens now at the Good Glamm Group?
Hi, thanks for having us. I know, guys, it's before lunch, so we'll try and keep it as engaging as we possibly can. So, it's been really interesting. I started life as a media entrepreneur. So I had a platform called PopXO, and at that time, when we pitched to investors, I think it was, we'll just be a great media platform. We'll make lots of money. We'll make you lots of money. So, but that was almost 10 years ago. PopXO turns 10 next year. And tab nahi pata tha that, it's going to be really hard. And all your best laid plans do kind of go sideways at a point. And had you asked me then, would I be sitting here talking to you about something called the Good Glamm Group? It would have been like quite impossible, actually. So when Glamm, PopXO, and Plixo, our influencer platform, we all merged together in August 2020. The basic thesis was that the digital brands of the future have to be built on the basis of content and commerce together, right? Because if you only go along the commerce journey, marketing is extremely expensive, and that's where most of the brands were actually struggling for the longest time, right? So without content, without influencers in your control, it's very hard to actually figure out the marketing costs. And that was the thesis with which we came together. And I'm glad to say that almost 3 years since, we still are along the same lines as a company. Our strategy hasn't changed. We've just been really lucky and good at playing it out at a great scale. We went on to raise $250 million in the next year. And of course, that was that great, wonderful year that all of us enjoyed. And we bought beauty and personal care brands, we bought other digital media platforms, we bought other influencer marketing companies, and then that was the Good Glamm Group. And our pillars are the same, our moats are the same, and our story has also been the same. And that's exactly how we see ourselves continuing as we go along this entrepreneurial journey of ours.
So, when you go global, in terms of the pillars, do you think this is it, or do you think there will be more additions? Do you drill down, or do you go wide? What's the game?
I think, look, our essential strategy never changes, right? And of course, why would you change something that's been working? It's just that we do believe that the best content creators and the best influencers should be native to wherever that you're building out at, right? So content creator commerce community as a strategy for us is not going to change, no matter where we choose to operate.
All right. How do you, go about, or what are the complexities in ensuring, that the voice of each of the brands that you have within the group, that voice and also the digital brands, that remains the same. But overarchingly, you're able to spell out this message and it ends at that point of sale. What goes into it? Talk to us about the complexities.
It's interesting. So we have Glamm, which is, depending on where you look at, the first or the second largest makeup and brand in the country. Then we have Saint Botanica, where we sell the best shampoos and hair care products. You have Sirona, where we are selling menstrual cups and period care products and personal care products. So we have a plethora of, we have a bouquet of companies that actually sells very specifically to different audience groups, and they sell a very different line of product from the other. Now, each of these brands are brands in themselves, right? And the best practices you have for brand building get followed by them, and they're quite independent that way. Similarly, when you look at our media platforms, your PopXO, which is primarily female, its own identity, its own voice. Your Scoop Whoop, which is almost diametrically different from PopXO in terms of the audience that it's basically trying to reach. Your Tweak, which is talking to a very engaged audience who might be female but slightly older. Baby Chakra speaks to parents and mothers. Miss Malini is Bollywood, right? So each of these platforms have to be very independent, have to hold on to their own voice and tone. And the beauty of the Good Glamm group is that we managed to figure out synergies within our ecosystem to ultimately build towards our kind of aim of selling more and more products through our brands.
All right. Okay. You have consumers in tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Could you tell us any specific insights which could have emerged, from this, say over the last 12 to 18 months, that has now become a kind of a strategy that you might want to follow at the group?
In terms of thesis, right, at the Good Glamm group, of course, first and the key was content creator commerce and community. That's basically our main thesis, right? But the second thing that we've always believed is that omnichannel is the way forward for India. And even if you're a DTC brand, right? So pretty much from the start, we of course had great play in the digital world. MyGlamm was predominantly selling through its own platform much more, right? So you had that. Marketplaces were there, so we were selling on marketplaces. And then we were present offline as well. I mean, we are one of the largest experience stores in the country for MyGlamm in Juhu in Bombay. And right from Shoppers Stop to Kirana stores. So we really do believe that omni-channel is the way forward. And the reason why I say that to your tier 2, tier 3 question is because you have to sell to your audience where your audience wants to buy. If she wants to buy on her phone, you have to be available to her on her phone. If she wants to go into her local market and buy at the Kirana store, you should be there. Or if she wants to walk into a kind of a great experience like a Shoppers Stop, you need to be there too, right? So we believe that once you're able to put an omni-channel experience for your consumers in place, you are then able to piggyback off all the great investments made by Amazon and Flipkart in the early days, and they've really built in the infrastructure for us that allows us to sell to anyone, anywhere, right? You have the internet on one side, you have the ability to sell to every pin code in the country on the other side. Delivery partners are sorted, last mile is sorted. Your job as a brand or as a brand builder is to make the most of that opportunity and then speak to all audiences that you can. And tier 2, tier 3 is really coming up, right? And interestingly, the consumer, in terms of trends you asked, the consumer is actually as aware as the consumer might be in tier 1 cities. And the expectations from brands are actually quite similar as well.
That's
so it's not that you have to water down your proposition or water down your message because you're selling to tier 2, tier 3. It's actually our job as brand builders to make sure that we actually stay consistent on both and provide the same level of service, convenience, and messaging to a consumer no matter where they're staying. But as an audience, as a consumer pool, tier 2, tier 3 is really shooting up, and it's making all of us take very intent notice of what their demands are as well.
All right. I want to touch upon community. The aspect, the launch of the Good Community was, I think, a pivotal move in your strategy. How has this community building contributed to the growth of the brand? And, can you share something about, managing communities in India's very diverse markets? What were the sort of challenges that you all faced?
I think community is key to any brand that's being built, right? What is a community? A community is like-minded people who are passionate about the same topic, who might have the same concern, or who are interested in a particular product that is of keen interest to them, right? And that's your audience pool as a brand. So when you start building out community intentionally, you are then thinking of ways that you can go beyond the transaction and go towards, it's an oft-used word, delight, right? How can you make the customer actually feel happy about engaging with us as a brand? Because once you're able to reach that, that's when your repeats get better. And that's when the customer too feels an ownership with the product that they're actually purchasing. So that is the job of community to do, to actually kind of, try and inculcate. So, we do these meetups all over the country where you actually kind of, there might be like 200 women coming together to talk, or 200 mothers coming together to talk about their concerns of kind of being a young parent. But when you do that at scale, and we do that consistently over time, we're able to build out those super influencers within different audience pools who then talk about your brand well. Right? And that's why we as a group were very keen to build out the good community, and that's why we launched it as well, to really deeply engage with our audiences, be it online or offline, and really hear from them what they want and what their kind of wants, their desires are from brands like the brands that we run.
You know, see, when you deal with influencers, right, all of them human, all of them with their own following, all of them with their own style, tonality, how do you ensure, you know, that the messaging is on point, it's qualitative, it's good, it's reliable, and, you know, also you ensure you're, you know, legally protected?
You know, back in the day, I'm going back to early 2017, a brand would come and say, hey, you know, PopXO, you're doing this article for us, get two influencers to say the same thing, right? And then we'd start calling around, hey, who's the influencer, and B, how do you get to them? And that was the beginning of influencer marketing in the country. And even from that point, we realized three very important things. One is the influencer has an audience because she speaks in a certain way, in a certain tone, and that authenticity always has to be maintained, right? Second is the brand too has a tone and a voice and a mission, and that also has to be maintained. Our job as a mediator between the influencer and the brand, as an influencer marketing platform, as a good creator co, is to do that really well, right? And to remove frictions on both ends. So you don't want to send that message to 200 influencers saying, hey, the brand wants you to post exactly this Instagram post at this time, go do it. Because that's very inauthentic and it'll not work for the brand. So at that point, we will tell the brand, hey, don't do that. There's a better way of doing that. Similarly, you don't want your influencer going completely crazy and saying things that are against the brand's values, right? And you want to coach the influencer and say, hey, this is what the brand wants. Why don't you say it in your way, but still do it for what the brand is paying you. So for that, we use both human and technological tools for that, right? There's a lot of, so influencers basically post back onto our platform to say what they're about to post. And we go through that with a tech check on that. And then, of course, we spot check with actually people from our team actually go and look at the posts. And it's something that we've been doing for many years now. And that's extremely important, right? And especially now with the government coming out with guidelines as to what is an influencer, what can an influencer do, what they can't do, what tagging has to be done. All of those principles have to be followed. And if you're running an influencer marketing business, and at the Good Creator Co, we track almost 2 million influencers, our job is to do that extremely well.
All right, you know, and we wish you success with that. I want to talk about the D2C ecosystem. You know, how are you seeing the ecosystem play at the current moment? You know, there is some good news right now with, you know, the IPO of a similar D2C brand sort of being oversubscribed. So when you look at the D2C play in India, you know, what are your thoughts on that? What does the future hold? If you look, sort of project forward 12, 18 months.
Look, I mean, by definition, I'm very bullish. And I think it's also the right place to be. Look, as a country, India has a large consuming audience. We're also a very brand-poor country, right? So we don't have enough brands in you can actually pick any sector that's out there. Most sectors don't actually have enough brands. And what is a brand? A brand is something that me as a consumer, I will buy this because it speaks to me. That does not speak to me and that doesn't speak to me, right? So, and if your audience pool is so diverse, you need many, many brands to basically come and sell to the consumers. And I think India's never had enough brands traditionally, and I think the whole DTC upswing that we've seen in the past few years is actually to come and fill that vacuum that existed, that brand vacuum that existed. And the internet, digital provided a very easy way for an entrepreneur to launch a brand and get to a large audience without a lot of the old-fashioned friction that might have existed for the first generation of offline brands that came up. So I think we are at a great time in India today where, as I said, everything is sorted in terms of the infrastructure. We know how to create audience pools online. We know how to reach them. And our audience wants brands. So I'm extremely bullish about what the future holds. And exits were always the problem. And now I think Rahul has called it the second wave of exits that are happening in the country. And we are seeing those. And it's very heartening, both as an audience, both as a consumer, as an entrepreneur, to see that opportunities like this exist.
Right.
So if there are any DTC wannabe entrepreneurs here, I think you guys are on the right track. And may more and more brands come, may more and more brands build and scale, come to IPO and continue to grow and flourish.
All right, that's a very good note. My last question now to you, Priyanka, is this, the beauty industry is evolving rapidly. How are you future-proofing yourself? And, what does the road to profitability to IPO look like?
Look, there's this thing that, when you're an early stage entrepreneur, you're just starting out. There was something that would be, the two things you hear all the time, right? One was called the flywheel, which basically is, you do the same thing over and over again. At some point, it starts spinning so fast that it really kind of takes off, and then that's when you know that things are working. And it seemed like a mythical concept. And over the past few years, at the Glamm Group, I've actually seen how the flywheel spins. And I've had the pleasure of being there when it happened, and that's a really big deal. Second thing you'd hear about is a hockey stick. Every investor you'd meet, they say, hockey stick. And then, you technically know what the hockey stick is, but very few of us actually get to see that happen at scale. And again, at the Glamm Group, we managed to actually even witness that's happening. And then, of course, investors have been very, very supportive. They continue to be extremely supportive of us, and we've gotten capital to actually go and invite other entrepreneurs and companies into our group and kind of put them all together. It's been 3 years now. I think now our job is to just execute really well, come back to kind of nuts and bolts, old-fashioned business, and make more money where we can, conserve more money where we can, and just continue to sell more and more products to our consumers through our brands, work more and more with other brands through our media and influencer properties, and just do what we do extremely well and efficiently. As the efficiencies improve, I think we are really well placed to make most of all that the future is probably going to offer us.
All right, and all the success to you with it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Priyanka Gill, for this very interesting session here.
Thank you.
Thank you.